Space is quite vast.
We're receiving a signal.
On audio, Lieutenant.
Oh my God, it's full of stars.
Doc, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Prepare ship for military speed.
Into the limitless boundaries of space.
It's in the name of science.
Absolutely marvelous.
The latest results in machine intelligence.
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. I am your father. The podcast from Planet
Hello, everybody, and welcome to... Ooh, I almost said the wrong one. I almost did it. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, boy. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast from Planet X. My name is Ben, and with me today, as always, is my co-host, David.
What's up, guys?
Today, or this episode, I suppose, we are talking about Space Truckers. Probably the worst reviewed movie as far as Rotten Tomatoes goes that we've had on the show so far. I believe when doing my research, it looks like it's got an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I kind of went in expecting a treat. But before we get into any of our thoughts about it, we're going to run through the synopsis and the cast and crew. So if you want to take the synopsis away, David.
Why do you not trust me to pronounce names correctly anymore?
Nope. Mm-mm.
Probably for the better. Alright, so Fallen on Hard Times. Oh Lord. Well, I thought this was going to... I thought this was going to read a little bit more differently, but that's not going to work the way I wanted to, so... Hard times for space trucker John Canyon to transport a sealed shipment to Earth. However, when pirates break into the cargo, they release an army of killer androids.
Okay. The cast and crew. Space Truckers stars Dennis Hopper as John Canyon, Stephen Dorff as Mike Pucci, Debbie Mazar as Cindy, and Charles Dance as Dr. Naval / Captain Macanudo. It was directed by Stuart Gordon and written by Ted Mann. Okay, so go ahead and get into your initial thoughts, David, on this movie.
So, this movie, I went into with incredibly low expectations.
You and me both.
I was not expecting it. I don't understand why this movie is so hated. I actually found it quite enjoyable and funny. I would definitely watch this again on my own accord. It is so stupid. And yet so funny that I don't know. It's just it's a hidden golden gem of idiocy. Like, it's so unbelievable, but it's just you know that it wasn't being taken seriously, and it's just like, oh my goodness, how could I laugh at this anymore? I actually do like it. I'm really surprised. It blew all my expectations, which admittedly were really, really low, but I thought I was going to hate it, and I didn't, so I'm really surprised.
I have to say, as far as the movie as a whole goes, I very much agree with you. There's some nitpicks that I have, like there was a couple times where the movie kind of tried to raise the stakes, like with the asteroid field and with the with their initial run-in with the asteroid field and the police chase when they're going out of the spaceport with the second load of cargo. They tried raising the stakes, and the problem was literally solved within 5 seconds. There's
Oh,
no tension
okay.
building.
Okay.
There's no. I mean, I felt literally nothing for those scenes. I was like, all right, we're gonna get a cool police chase, and then he turns the truck and escape. That's it.
They call it off. They literally call it off.
And the asteroid field. Oh dear God, there's these invisible rocks in space. How are we going to ever get away? Just pulls out over them.
Yep, like a little
And
roller
almost
coaster
nothing
move.
happens. Yeah, The only reason that scene is effective is because out of nowhere they get struck by another one. But as far as the entire rest of the asteroid field goes, nothing happened.
Yeah,
It was just there.
I was expecting to see some like, hot shot maneuvering, like exceptional driving on his part. Like he knows what he's doing. He's got these secret moves and all that, and he's just going to, balls to the wall, just take care of the situation. And it's like, oh, 30 seconds later and we're done. So I get you on that.
Yeah, that's my huge. That's probably the biggest issue I have with the movie. Another thing I saw was that initial fight that John has with those two goons. When he punches that dude, you can clearly see the wires that he's on. They didn't do a very good cleanup job. I noticed that.
Yeah, I don't think I paid too much attention to the wires aspect. I was more.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have noticed it had it been erased, but it was like clear as day.
Gotcha. See, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was more busy laughing at his little. This is not how you throw a punch. This is how you throw a punch, and then that really, really, really bad job of that tooth flying out of the other guy's mouth.
That was pretty,
I saw
pretty bad too.
That I saw. It's like, ugh, yeah, that's pretty bad. They did not do a good job with that at all. But I completely missed the wires, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, other than that, I didn't really have any huge issues with this. I mean, the special effects were pretty decent. We'll get into that a little bit later. The story itself was fairly interesting for what it was. And I definitely don't think it deserves an 8%. I mean, do I think it's a masterpiece? Clearly not, but it is something that I found way more interesting than I initially thought it could ever be. So there's definitely I definitely have some hangups, but overall I think it's good for what it is. Honestly, it's good for what it is.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's comically good. I'll give it that. Why it is, I don't know, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. Speaking of, Space Truckers is billed as a comedic science fiction film. While there are certainly jokes in the movie, do you think the humor stems more from the intended jokes or from the unintended humor throughout the movie?
I'd have to say it's probably more the intended jokes. Like one of my least favorite scenes, and also one of my favorite scenes at the same time, is it's kind of rapey, so this is why I don't like it. But we're
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
when Cindy is
where Cindy and the captain.
Yeah,
well, the
Cindy
captain
and the
tries
captain
to get it on with Cindy.
Yeah. It's kind of rapey to me somewhat, but
it's definitely rapey.
But then he just has to. He's like pulling on this jump starting rope like it's a lawnmower or a chainsaw or something, and it's clearly supposed to represent his rebuilt manhood, and he's just pulling this thing, and you hear it sputtering. I just died laughing at that entire thing, and he finally gets going, and it's like glowing this. I forget what color. I think it was a green or a purple glow, and it's like, oh my gosh, what? what is this thing supposed to represent? Like, and then the look on Cindy's face when she sees it, it was so funny. And then it failed on him. And it's like, yeah, I wonder what the space version of Viagra would be.
Well, I mean, whatever it is, he wouldn't be able to take it anyway. Yeah, I'd have to agree. There's definitely some unintentionally humorous moments, like the wires that I noticed in the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, the humor lands when it's supposed to. There's a couple things here and there that I can't like point to offhand, but for the most part, it definitely it succeeds as a comedic science fiction movie. There's science fiction in there. There's a whole lot of comedy, and I don't know. It works. It works pretty well, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I don't think I'll ever have such low expectations for a movie and be quite so pleasantly surprised again.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I was expecting to come on here and slander this thing.
I think you and I both went in with the same expectations, and this movie completely blew us away as far as that's concerned.
Probably. It's probably why we've put it off for so long, too. I mean, it's literally been, I don't know how long since we've recorded an episode for this podcast, but
It's been
feels like forever.
Yeah, that was definitely part of it. I was like, man, I really don't want to. I was looking forward to watching like Alien or whatever, but I was not looking forward to watching.
Yeah, really.
Space
Truckers comes up on the list. It's like, really? That's what we're gonna do?
I mean, I put it on the list intentionally. It's not like it snuck itself on there.
Well, yeah, but still.
I was definitely not looking forward to it.
No, but I would watch it again.
Oh,
that
yeah,
says a
easily.
lot.
It's way better than I expected.
Yeah. Alrighty, so you've already touched on it a little bit, but I think it's something worth mentioning. There's quite a lot of surprising special effects in this movie. It only had a budget of $25 million. But I think, and we'll see what you think, I think the special effects, for the most part, are pretty decent. What are some of your favorite scenes and effects that you can remember?
So I really liked the robot that they had, the robot suit. That was pretty interesting, especially the way when we finally saw one being like activated, the way it folded out and like and spun up and everything. Yeah. That was pretty interesting. All the stuff in space, as far as like the truck and everything went, like when it was going into the spaceport and everything, and all the computer graphics, those were very well done. I'm sure it was probably mostly miniatures, just helped along with a little bit of CGI. But I mean, $25 million, you can't stick your nose up at that when you've got special effects that looks like these. I mean,
yeah, no, that I thought the robots, androids, whatever, I thought they held up pretty well. In the whole opening scene was something else. I mean, the disintegration that happened with the door, and literally all the people being like,
effects are very interesting.
Yeah,
I like the way they designed that.
Yeah, and everybody being like cut in half, and like it was really, I really enjoyed it. That was not what I was expecting.
No.
Either. None of this movie was what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the plot of these androids being shipped somewhere. So I wasn't expecting the pirates thing, although somehow I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected.
They mentioned the hijackers earlier in the movie, so
they
I was
did.
kind of expecting that, they're off the beaten path. They're in this asteroid field kind of drifting along, so that's really the only natural progression that they had, especially considering they were going to die if something didn't happen.
Yeah, well, no,
So
the fact that they were there didn't surprise me once, they did mention it in the movie. Going into the movie, I did not expect it at all. Of course, I don't know what I was expecting with this movie. But what we got and what I was expecting are totally different things, and I really do like it for that. Something that didn't live up to my expectations, and I'm thankful that it didn't live up to my expectations.
it exceeded your expectations.
Because had it done that, had it followed through like I want everything to do, it would have been a hard piece of garbage, for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, so at the end of the movie, we see that the government has become privatized, a concept seen in a few sci-fi movies. Was this the direction that you expected the movie to go? Sorry. Should it have been done differently?
Going into the movie, it was not what I was expecting. But by the conclusion of the opening scene, it's exactly what I was expecting. I knew what was in the containers. I was like, yep, it's those robots. What else would it be? They're going to Earth, just like they mentioned in it. It mentioned something about, I think, a disorganized government on Earth or something like that. There were things. There was hints, and it was all laid out by the opening scene what was going to happen. So, was it the direction it should have gone? I don't know what else you could have done. Given the layout of the movie, I mean, you've got the shipment of this super secure... I mean, he couldn't even undock from the things without having a anti-defense system nearly laser him to death, for lack of a better word. So, it kind of plays well with what it was. I mean, I don't know if you could do another scenario. There's been movies where I feel like this was a stupid scenario for what they did. Like, Total Recall was one of those movies. It's like, really? It's a movie about regassing the atmosphere on Mars? That's what this is about? That was really stupid, in my opinion, and I still don't think that it lived up to what it should have been, and I'm still criticizing that scene to this day. This movie, on the other hand, I don't know what else you could have done with it. I really don't. What do you think?
I don't know. For me, I understand what you're saying as far as, the whole plan following through, but for me, the plan didn't go as everybody expected. So when he came in, he was like, "Oh, I'm the president of the world now." I'm like, "What? Well, then what was the point of the robots? Why did you just undermine your entire plot? I mean, they foiled this so that this wouldn't happen, and then it happened anyway. I mean, yes, he did get his just desserts in that he inadvertently blew himself up, which was hilarious. But at the same time,
if this was going to be what happened, then what was the point of sending the robots? Did he take over as a and this is something that the movie didn't explain very well, or at least I think it did a poor job. Did he take over as a consequence for what had happened? Like, was there like an argument, the government has failed to protect its citizens, so it's time to overthrow it? Or, hey, this is a privatization. Good God.
Privatization.
Yes, thank you. Oof. Measure as far as like security or something goes to make sure that something like this can't happen again. We have the resources. Clearly, it did a really bad job of explaining what it was. So if that was inevitable and that was going to happen anyways, like you said,
the thing is, you're correct in wondering that, but as far as that goes, I understand. Yes, his plan was to blow them up the whole time, so it wouldn't have mattered if they had signed an NDA or whatever. But clearly nobody else knows about the robots.
Yeah.
Because he's gone to them, he's tried to make this deal. So, I mean, it's just him and them. So
Yeah.
I think the whole government privatization thing was going to happen no matter what. It was just a matter of time because, like you said, they said that the government was fairly disorganized on Earth. So
I'm with you on it. I understand your point. I think the movie did a very poor job of explaining exactly what circumstances led to what. I get where you're saying if this was going to happen anyways, what was the point of I thought the robots were the means to take over, and yet the robots are destroyed, and yet you take over anyways. It's like, well, what's the point? So I get you on that. I get you on that.
I feel like maybe they kind of wrote themselves into a corner, and maybe they
Possibly.
were like, okay, so we've got this Sags guy that we see at the beginning of the movie. He's clearly a bad guy because he tried to kill this scientist dude.
Mm-hmm. Dr.
How are we going
Nabel.
to close his arc?
Yeah.
So I guess this was just the best way that they could come up with to do that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
I liked
personally,
that it was
I
closed.
can't think of any other way to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't necessarily agree with how they did it either. So I don't know.
It's something. It's something. I think that you've got the whole plot in the beginning figured out. You couldn't write a better scenario for this. Like this is just like poor writing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a lack of caring or if it was a lack of creativity, imagination. Did they not care, or did they not imagine something better?
It could have also been a production deadline.
Or a production thing. Yeah. It could have been rushed, or like, no, this is what we're doing, and some people have different ideas of what they imagine, and the writers could have been like, well, this is what we plan on doing, and the director or somebody else could be like, nah, don't like it, we're doing this. So I mean, there's tons of things that could have happened. But I agree, it's not the best ending. It was very funny though, and I did like the fact that he got his just desserts by blowing himself up inadvertently.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That couldn't have gone better as far as his ending was concerned. But
I agree.
How or what led up to it? Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Alrighty, so for such a small budget, we had a really big budget cast. We've got well-known actors such as Dennis Hopper, and I think Debbie Mazar's done a lot of things. The thing I remember her most from...
I've seen her in something. I was trying to look it up, but I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out what I had seen her in.
The biggest thing I can remember is Beethoven, one of the Beethoven movies. And she was this horrible, vindictive woman in that, and I hated her in it. And I always seem to try to find things that she's been in that I can't stand. And it's like, oh no, it was just a role that she was playing in that movie, because she's not this hateful, vindictive. This is my young, impressionable mind trying to weed out the evil in this woman. And it's like, oh, never mind, she's fine.
Yeah, that was the one title that I recognized, but I think I've only seen the first Beethoven movie, so
yeah,
I don't think it was.
There's been other things I think I've seen her in too, but I can't remember anything. So
yeah, we'll have to look it up after we're done recording and see if we can figure it out.
Exactly. If you could recast any of the major roles in the movie, who would you cast? Who do you want to see in this?
Okay, so I personally think that Charles Dance was perfect as Dr. Nabel / Captain Macanudo. He was in Game of Thrones, so he's a fairly prolific actor nowadays. Let's see, who would I recast in Dennis Hopper's role? You know who I think would be hilarious in this role now would be Harrison Ford.
Yeah, yeah, I could see
Harrison Ford would be fantastic. Not Harrison Ford as he was when this movie came out, but Harrison Ford now.
Yeah,
it would have to be Harrison Ford now.
Yeah, I could.
Let's see, Debbie Mazar. I don't know. Maybe Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I could see Aubrey being something that could be recast into that.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of somewhat have the same looks and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Aubrey's just such a hilarious person to listen to, and she does a really good job.
Let's see. Who would I cast as Mike Pucci? Um.
You know who I'm thinking?
Who? Who are you thinking?
He kind of reminded me a lot of Brad Pitt, Thelma and Louise Brad Pitt.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Like that young, cocky son of a gun type thing.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe a young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Okay. Would you cast somebody else as John Canyon?
No, I don't. It'd be hilarious as hell if they did Burt Reynolds, but
That would be pretty good.
considering Smokey and the Bandit, but no, I liked him in that role. I could see him as that. You know who I'd really want to see? Donald Sutherland as not Dr. Nabel. Good gosh. The guy that took over president. What was his blessed name? The evil guy.
Sags?
Yeah, Sags. Donald Sutherland is Sags.
That would be pretty funny. Yeah.
See, I think he plays a really good, like, maniacal and manipulative role
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of things. So I could see him as that, the evil bad guy once again. I think that's it.
He seems like an evil bad guy type of dude.
Yeah, he does a good job of it. And I don't know if you've seen it, but Outbreak.
No, I haven't seen it.
That's a pretty good movie.
Okay.
We should watch that at one point.
I'll have to give it a watch. All right. Is that all
I think
of our
that's
recastings?
it. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, let's get into our final thoughts and ratings then. You go ahead and go first. Give it your final thoughts, and then we'll rate the film.
Okay, so final thoughts. There are definitely parts of this movie that are cringy.
Mm-hmm.
And
like the scene with Cindy and the captain.
Yes. Things like that.
Yeah.
I think the special effects for the most part held up.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments of it that are cringy, and by today's standards would definitely get chastised for 100%.
Mm-hmm.
The plot is something. It's not a very good plot. All in all, there's some major issues that we've discussed with it. I think some of it is also the timing. It didn't have like a really good seamless progression throughout the film. It was kind of jumpy at parts, and then other parts were very drawn out. As far as the acting and whatnot, I think everybody played their roles pretty good. I mean, I can't complain about it. I'd hate to see what those androids could do in real life on Earth.
Oh yeah,
like they didn't seem. Okay, and I forgot to mention that one of my big complaints. It seemed like that thing was unstoppable in the bunker that they were in the opening. There was one of them, and it seemed like that thing is unstoppable. And how many of them did they fight off in the actual convoy? That the first container that got breached, or whatever it was. It activated 1, and then 2, and then 4, and then 8.
And then 8.
It seemed like he did an incredibly easy job of disarming some of it.
The first two he had the remote for.
He had the remote for.
And then the second two he had the remote for, and then the other two were climbing around to the cabin. So they both go up there. They break through the windows. I think at that point the remote gets slapped out of his hand, and that's no more.
Yep.
What did they do with those two? How did they beat them?
One of them got microwaved.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
That was hilarious, and actually pretty relative, as long as all the processing is up there in its head. That would do a good job of shorting out some electronics.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember what happened to the other one. But it seemed easy.
Yeah, it did seem
and I don't know
easy.
why. It seemed too easy considering what it was clearly capable of. But other than that,
there had to be some exceptions, I think.
Yeah. All right. What do you think?
All right. So, I agree with you for the most part. The special effects, I think, still hold up pretty well. I think I've mentioned, I think I've mentioned everything that I have a major issue with as far as this movie is concerned. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I would 100% watch it again. It's definitely not an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes bad.
No, that was a little unfair, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in all, I enjoyed this movie. Pretty much, yeah. I liked it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give my rating first. I think all in all, this movie, I don't want to give it too many points considering all of the other movies we've watched on this podcast so far. I'd have to say I'd give it a 3. 3 out of 5.
I'm not going to be as kind to it. I think it's a solid 2.5. Probably closer to
fair.
2 3/4.
Okay.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. We're kind of in the same neighborhood, so I totally get that. Yeah. So, I don't think I mentioned it before, but on top of the movie having a bad rating, that it was also 100% a box office failure.
No
it only made like $1.5 million at the box office.
What?
Yeah. It's bad. It was bad.
Oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me.
Let me see if I can...
Oof.
Let's see. I'll get you the exact number. Yeah, just over $1.6 million at the box office. Yeah. It was pretty bad.
Man, I don't...
And that's not domestically. That's 100% internationally. It was distributed from the UK, so... Yeah. Of course, it also probably didn't help that it released in the same year as The Arrival, Twister, Independence Day. What else is in here? Fargo, The Cable Guy, James and the Giant Peach, Escape from LA. A whole From Dusk Till Dawn. Dunstan checks in, which is obviously not as big of a movie, but
well,
Happy Gilmore, Space Jam.
Those, I've seen at least half.
Yeah, Space Jam was in '96. Trainspotting. There's a whole ton of big movies that came out in 1996. So I'm not really surprised with, I don't know, with the content of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not extremely surprising to me that it didn't do super well.
Well, if it's going to be going up against that kind of things, then I guess I'm not surprised either.
Yeah.
Like goodness.
Okay. So, with that out of the way, we're going to mark Space Truckers off of our list here. Where is it? I don't know. I'll mark it off later. All right. Let's go to our random number generator on Google here. In 1 to 100. And we're going with whoa, yes. We're going with number 20 on our list, which is Back to the Future.
Sweet.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm so glad we get to cover this. Yes, I'm excited. Okay. All right. Well, before we gush too much about this movie, before we actually record the episode,
how many times do you think you've seen it?
Oh, too many.
Too
many times.
I figured as much.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you liked, please be sure to leave a rating on whatever podcasting platform you happen to be listening on. And we'll see you guys next episode for Back to the Future. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast from Planet X. We are hosted, edited, and produced by Ben Mason and co-hosted by David Knowles. Our theme song is produced by the Tormented Teamster. You can follow Ben on Twitter at BenPlaysVidjus, that's Ben Plays VIDYAS, and you can follow David on Twitter at Car6x16. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can contact the show on Twitter at PlanetXPod or by email at podcastfromplanetx@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. We'll see you next time.